bottom line is, though, these are all folks who vote with me. They have supported my agenda in Congress. They are on the right side of minimum wage. They are on the right side of fair pay. They are on the right side of rebuilding our infrastructure. They're on the right side of early childhood education. So, this isn't about my feelings being hurt. These are folks who are strong allies and supporters of me. And, I tell them, I said, you know what, you do what you need to win. I will be responsible for making sure that our voters turn out.
The president, of course, will tell anyone who asks there is no problem with the fact people are running from him in droves before the midterms. This while these small stories like millions of possible green cards being printed float around us. This and much more to tackle as we welcome back to MidPoint, representing the 60th Congressional District in Missouri, which means if he doesn't have his Royals jersey on today, he will be severely chastised by friends and followers. Republican Representative Jay Barnes. Jay, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm a Cardinals fan.
Okay, well, see, in that sense, if you are a Cardinals fan, I should have put it in there because it is a real split there, and people don't realize that that is a deep chasm-like divide between the two. So, but at least to put it straight, are you going to at least root for the Royals, seeing as the Cards are not in the series?
Of course we're going to root for the Royals here in Jefferson City.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, at least you had to make it happy now, so all the Royals fans are happy. The president seems to be happy, but there are those who think that when he speaks as he did on the radio show there, that the man is delusional. People are indeed, they're leaving his appearances right now. It happened this past weekend, 8,000 in a crowd at an event. Suddenly he started to talk about, you must get out and vote, and they walked away by the time the speech was over. Is the man just trying to make the best of a bad situation, or is he actually not paying a lot of attention, Jay?
Well, it certainly seems the evidence is there that Obama fatigue is setting in. As you said earlier this week, in a blue part of a blue state in Maryland, he was given a speech and voters walked away. He has two Democratic Senate candidates, one in Kentucky and one in Georgia, who suddenly have developed amnesia when asked the question whether they voted for him. Of course, this isn't unique to President Obama. President Bush suffered from the same malady in the last 2 years of his term, but all of the evidence is there, and as you say, it appears he's ignoring the evidence.
Are we overestimating this? And again, I'm just going to speak from the other side of things, because we keep looking at this and saying this is absolute proof positive that the Democrats are running, that the Republicans are going to have not an easy task, but at least have an easier task, if you will, come the midterms here. But are we perhaps maybe putting a little bit too much emphasis on all of this right now, running from the president?
Well, you know, all of these races are decided by national factors, but there are also local factors at play, and it's hard to you got to look at each race on its own. I think it is fair to say that to the extent the Obama presidency wasn't dead in the legislative arena already, it is certainly dead now. Now, the Obama presidency is alive and well. You know, earlier in the year, President Obama famously said he had a different kind of agenda, a pen and a phone agenda, and that agenda marches on.
Let's talk about somebody else here who is looking at a lot of the various fallouts from midterm elections and others as well. Rick Perry, governor of Texas. He's one who sits here right now, and he wants to avoid making an oops moment. Yet when the state was diagnosed with 2 Ebola patients, he was actually out of the country, and then he had to rush back in order to make sure that people didn't think he was afraid of actually being close to Ebola. Is Rick Perry making all the right moves here, or is he just making, there's a mistake and then a move, a mistake and then a move, and this is going to come back to haunt him?
Well, this might come back to haunt him. You know, Politico did a story on this, and the first 2 sentences tell it all. They said Ebola came to Texas, and Rick Perry went to Europe. He went to Europe to burnish his foreign policy credentials. Now, obviously, the bulk of the blame for what went on belongs with the CDC, but it did happen in Texas, and Texas had to realize that they couldn't necessarily rely on the CDC to do everything, and Governor Perry, while he had a great appearance at the start of the outbreak in Texas, he did leave the country. It reminds me a little bit of what happened here in Missouri with Governor Jay Nixon in Ferguson.
Doesn't this also speak a little bit to the fact that Governor Perry is one who was criticizing President Obama to get on the scene when things happened in Texas? And this is going to come back against him now, because you can't leave yourself an opening for the opposition to come in and say, you said it, So you've got to do it as well.
That's right. If you live by that line, sometimes you're going to die by that line as well. And I think both the example of Governor Nixon in Ferguson and Governor Nixon, there were rumors around that he was looking at a presidential campaign. And now with this criticism of Governor Perry in Texas, I think there's a clear rule here, and that is if you are a governor with hopes to be president, if something happens in your state over which you have any control that is international news, don't leave the state. Stay there. Act presidential. Be in charge.
Jay, 2-minute warning here. Let's talk about what's happening in Wisconsin with Governor Scott Walker. There is an opinion here that because the state has picked Barack Obama twice, he needs to come more to the center. But there are others saying, no, no, no. And he's even doing this. He is absolutely deciding he will not go to the center. He is going to stay tough on where he sits right now. What's your thinking? Should he stay to the center, or should he come to the center, or stay right where he is?
Well, I think Governor Walker's making a big bet here. And the bet is that independents and conservatives in Wisconsin will show up to the polls in a bluish state and elect him governor on a conservative platform. And there's two parts to this. One is it shows that Governor Walker doesn't want to trade who he is in order to continue being governor. He would rather stay who he is and lose than pretend to be something he's not and win. And the other thing it does is it puts rocket fuel into a potential presidential campaign if he wins, because he can go to Republican primary voters and say, look, I live in Wisconsin, a state that voted twice for Barack Obama, and I am a conservative. And when the going got tough in my state, I did not sway from my principles. I stood strong, and I was reelected in Wisconsin because our message resonates with independents and with Republicans as well, and I can win those swing votes even in tough states. I think that's a message, the message that you will not sell out who you are in order to win an election is a message that sells to all voters, but particularly to Republican primary voters.
I've only got 15 seconds left. What's your take on the report now that the president has ordered 34 million blank green cards?
Well, I think it's evidence that his pen and a phone agenda will continue after the elections are over in November.
Didn't think he was going to sneak this one past the American public, let's hope. Jay Barnes, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Good luck, and we'll wish for the Cardinals then next season.
Thank you.
All right, later on this hour, let's call out the person responsible for the most fraud-filled TV commercial of the midterms, using Ebola as its point of attack. That's all coming up right here on MidPoint.